are joining us on day 2 of the Property Investor Show at Excel in London. And a big part of the show is networking and meeting people. And I've just bumped into a Property Tribes member. It's Mick, who is known as B-Prop on Property Tribes. And Mick, I always enjoy reading your contributions to Property Tribes, so it's lovely to meet you. What do you make of the show so far?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never been to anything like this before, so you don't really know what to expect. So just having a walk around really to start off with, and take it all in and see what's useful, what maybe isn't, and just first impressions really. So.
Have you come to see anything in particular or get an answer to a particular question that's going on in your business?
No, not really. I like to think I'm sort of quite well informed, with having access to a friend that's an accountant, I've got quite a bit of experience in business. Obviously using Property Tribe has been really, really useful to me because it's a lot of really experienced investors. So more sort of familiarisation. Obviously, I knew you guys were going to be here. I knew, Aviram was coming with Lendlord, and we've been using that. So, it's just sort of broaden horizons, really. So.
Fantastic. That's a lovely way to say it. Broaden your horizons. I like that. Now, you mentioned Lendlord. You're a fan of the platform?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, when it was first launched, I put the first few properties that we've got in there. It's been really, really interesting and really sort of pleasing to see how it's evolved with, asking constantly for feedback, and with the webinars and things. It's great that it's a constantly evolving platform. You see a lot of things and they tend to stagnate, but it seems to be really, really active, and it's improving and changing all the time. So, useful tool, yeah.
That's lovely to hear. What do you like most about Lendlord, or what function do you find the most useful?
I think, sort of graphically, it's really good to see the dashboard, sort of business KPIs. Just like any other business, you need that kind of information. But probably one of the most useful things is just having information in your pocket all the time. Whenever I go and see my broker, see my accountant, he asks me for information, and I do tend to remember a lot of things, but I can just pull up Lendlord and all the information's in there. If you want to know when I bought a property, when the deal runs out, how much we paid for things, I don't have to remember it all. If it's something I can't remember, I can just pull it up on the app really. So.
Yeah, we call it carrying your portfolio in your pocket. Yeah. So it's a really, really good bit of kit, and it's so great to hear that you're using it, and that you came on board very early on, and you've seen the whole evolution of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's really useful tool.
Now, you invest in the Corby area, is that right? How are you finding things post-COVID? Did you have struggles through COVID? What's it like now?
We were really lucky. I mean, we started about 18 months ago, bought 3 terraced houses, then found we kept our old house when we moved just because of, what things that went on with COVID. But, we've had no problems. I mean, I like to think I was quite good at sort of vetting tenants, so we've ended up with good tenants. No problems with anybody paying through COVID. We let them know that we're here if they needed any kind of help. But we've done okay. And then coming out of COVID, obviously, you look back now and with what was going on at the time, especially on our house when we moved, I had a buyer come back to me saying he wanted to renegotiate at 30% down because the market was going to crash. And we said no, we were going to rent it out. And look where we are now. That property we're selling now has gone up by 25% in that year. So, we've found that it's been really, really good. Obviously, from a renter's point of view, it's about balancing things out because, some of them have been on furlough. You do have to offset, and think about their financial situation versus rent increases, and if you want to refinance. And I think it's just like any business, it's about finding a balance. Any business you've got to look at prices, you've got to look at viability, you've got to look at keeping your customer base. So there's nothing different there really, it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah. Are you feeling confident about buy-to-let going forwards? Are you going to continue expanding your portfolio, adding to Lendlord?
We are definitely, yeah. I mean, we're looking at selling, our ex-residents now. Which, like I say, it was kind of accidental. We kept it to keep our house move going when a buyer fell through. But the intention was always actually to sell originally and buy 2-3 bedroom terrace houses. So we're going to do that now. We're going to get that on the market. As and when that goes, we'll look at buying some more terrace houses. And I think there is a future in buy to let. But I think people need to come in it with a much more professional and business mindset, because it's not an amateur game. There's so much you need to follow, and especially I've come into it 18 months ago from scratch, but I've watched the market for a long time. I've looked at things. It's been something I always wanted to do. I don't think it's one of those things now where you can just say, I'm going to put my money in buying a few houses, because there's just too much you need to know, there's too much you need to learn. Even if you go with agents, still need to be able to pick the right agents, because there's agents out there that don't seem to be as professional as they maybe should be, and landlords, certainly the smaller landlords, are probably very, very reliant on those agents, covering them legally, because ultimately they're responsible.
That's a very good point. We've got a thread on Property Tribes called How to Vet a Lettings Agent, Questions to Ask. I'll put that underneath this thread. But Mick, you're not a full-time landlord, are you? You have a business running alongside, is that right?
That's right. Well, a few things really. I mean, in the past I've had an IT business. I now work for a nationwide electrical company, and we do a lot of work in London as well as the rest of the country. And then my wife's got a cafe in the town as well, so we run that business as well. It's like a family business. So yeah, I'm used to being busy. There's never any dull time. Coming down here for a few days, it's nice to get away from it and have a few days, sort of offline really.
You sound a very entrepreneurial family. I mean, just when we were talking off camera, you mentioned that in your business, that Lendlord was kind of in line with what you look for in your other business, that it gives you that information at your fingertips. Could you just tell that for the camera, because I thought what you said was so good?
Yeah, basically, I mean, you've got a dashboard in Lendlord, so it's like anything, information in is information out. As long as you put the right information in, Lendlord, is bringing that up into easy visual ways of seeing things with a dashboard. You can see at a glance, what equity you've got in your properties, what your overall mortgage liabilities are, etc. That's just like any other business. You need to know, cash flow in and out. You need to know what your KPIs are, depending on what kind of business. But it's the same thing. It's numbers, and not just about just seeing numbers on spreadsheets, but being able to represent them, visually in graphs, in a way where at a glance you can just look at them and see, where your loan to values sit. It's just really, really useful information. And I would guess that for most people, even if they are, if they've got spreadsheets and that, they don't either have the knowledge or the skills, with IT, all the time to actually change them and put them into graphical form to a more visually appealing way of looking at the data. So I think, with Lendlord, it's brilliant. You've got the information there, you can drill into it, but you can also see at a glance how your business is doing,
Very, very important. Mick, it's been absolutely wonderful to meet you, and I have to say thank you for your contributions on Property Tribes. I always look forward to seeing them. I always learn so much from you, and to see you at the show and to hear your views, and a landlord such as yourself who started actually 18 months ago when it was probably the worst possible time to start a property business. And do you think Lendlord has maybe helped you through that a little bit?
It's just a great tool. And also to be able to feed back information as well, because I've got a background in that kind of thing. It's quite nice when I've chatted with Avram before, to suggest certain things, and then a few weeks or months later you've seen it is implemented. It's really it's nice to see that you've got that kind of ability to feed back into what you're using as well, and see it actually implemented.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Property Tribes TV interview. We've been talking to Mick, who is a landlord in Corby and known as B Prop on Property Tribes, and now you can put a face to the avatar.